Hey, hope you're having an amazing day. Cutie's Creations here with another message on restitution. So we are going through the laws. Restitution means for us the 2.9 million dollars to every African American man, woman, and child. Restitution means for us judicial reform because the laws were skewed against us. Restitution means free education, quality education. Restitution means for us healthcare with the focus on mental health. And last but not least, restitution means financial literacy. So when we get this money, when we get this new found abundance, we will be moving towards a better future with the literacy, the knowledge to be able to keep that money, to be able to keep thriving in any economic climate. So we have been going down this road of, we've started with the education, and then we went into healthcare with the focus on mental health, and now we are in with the laws. So when I said the laws are skewed against us, a lot of the laws were made around when we were slaves. So when that was going on, in our history in America, the birth of that, everyone had slaves on in the world. And when they were doing just that, they made laws that would keep you bound in this slavery. And how laws are created is usually by the times. But laws can be amended and they can be redone. And we see that now because we're no longer slaves. We no longer have Jim Crow. We no longer have segregation. We no longer have certain things that were then, and now our laws are crafted differently. But we've come a long way, but there's so many laws because you have lived so long in America, hundreds of years since the inception of it. So when they started to create these laws, of course they would be skewed towards that way. And now in the present, it's not that way, but there's so many of them that need to be reversed or just done away with. I know I spoke briefly on the Oklahoma thing where there's so many men that are locked up in prison on death row, but that's the definition of what I'm talking about. The laws that are in Oklahoma are now harming the people who are innocent. When you are on death row, even if you are you found new evidence and everything, you have to get an appeal. Well, appeal costs money, and if you're on death row, obviously you haven't been able to work enough to be able to get a lawyer to file that appeal unless you have family. And a lot of times, the people who are the most vulnerable don't have that. Like I was saying, the $2.9 million is to stabilize us. And those people who are suffering through their innocence are now going to be sentenced to death because of the fact of the laws. So these things, it's just an old law in Oklahoma that you can't be set free, even if you found new evidence and everything, you have to submit that to the court. And although they do know about this evidence, until you file an appeal, you can't get out. So you are sentenced to death, essentially, and this is the thing. The laws harm people so much that they're harming the people that are around them that have nothing to do with their deaths, with their lives or anything, but we're all connected. So how I know this is when you sentence someone to death, who do you think pays for it? Your state pays for it. Part of your federal government pays for it. So you're spending millions of dollars on killing someone who's innocent, on unaliving someone who's completely innocent, and as a taxpayer. And you can retract that by changing the laws. I know me, I wouldn't want to spend that much money out of my taxes, regardless if it came out of increments or not, on killing someone who's innocent. We could be using those that money for building better schools, for having better roads, for giving our trashmen, our firemen, our police officers, our teachers more money to be able to do the things that they do every single day. This is how we're all connected. And when you see that, like you always think that these things are outside of yourself, and a lot of times they are. They because they're out of sight, out of mind, and because we're all connected, they will be brought full circle. Cycles are created with circles. So essentially, we go down this pathway together, and we don't know that we're just that connected, but we are. And when we start to change our laws in our land, and we start to do things that are just and that are really about freedom and liberty, then it affects us in a really good way. Like, it puts things into perspective that weren't there before. So, I digress. Let's get on to the history. So, the founding period, 1776 to 1789. The Declaration of Independence, 1776, rejected British rule, and the Articles of Confederation, 1781, created a weak central government, the federalism, separations of power, and the Bill of Rights in 1791. So, like I said, at the time, we weren't the ones that were building out this land. African Americans, that's what I'm talking about. It was people who had come from other countries that seen the possibility of America, and they decided to start to build it out with industry and laws and, just building the land out. And when they were doing that, they were still under a certain rule, because that type of stuff takes money. So they were like getting money from the countries they were from or goods, because it wasn't like money, because there was no money. There was no physical cash at the time. It was gold and bartership, and a lot of the wealth came from those type of means, weapons, your estates, how much do you own, and those things that were financed at the time, they were financed by the British, and those British they wanted their stake of America as well, but these people were coming from there and all over in the European peninsula to come to a new world and gain a new perspective and get a new life and everything, and they were still being followed by their past. Remember that cycle thing I was talking about? You break these chains by doing things differently, and that's what they wanted to do. So they started making laws and doing things differently, and they became the subject of a lot of hate and malice from the people that they came from, because they wanted a piece of that pie too, and they were creating a new world. They weren't trying to create the same thing that they had just came from. They wanted something different. They didn't want a monarchy. They didn't want this one leader system. They wanted a multitude of systems that would work together collectively, so we could have a better future. We could have freedoms and liberties and not have to be put under just religion. So, yes, a lot of our laws at the time were made through religion, but they were also two different sides of that were saying, like, hey, we need to step away from this because laws kind of stand outside of that. And that is correct. Yes, it is good to go and put in some type of religious value so you can stand for, like, what happens when you murder someone. Yes, there will be punishment because murdering is wrong. Unaliving people is wrong. But the people who were starting this country, the colonizers, they knew that they didn't want to just say it was wrong and do the same thing they were doing before. When people were unaliving people, they would unalive that person. Although we still have some of those systems in place, like I just said, but they wanted to have like court hearings and figure out who would be actually wrong in this, and then figure out if this was the most just way, the most sound way to be able to move forward with this person who has committed a crime. So when they started to do this, they had to create laws around it, and that's how we get murder in the first degree, second and third. And it's not just capital punishment, it's totally different now. So and in some places it's still the same, it's still very harsh. Like I said, in Oklahoma, they still unalive you. So you, like when you go on death row, that regardless of innocent or not, you're going to be unalived yourself. But there are also states that don't believe in that, and if you have that particular thing going on and you are incarcerated for any reason whatsoever, they will keep you alive and not treat you in a certain inhumane way. Although jail is very inhumane. But I digress. This was our systems that were being put in place. And what I'm telling you is, as those systems started to be built out, they became more just, they became more sound. It was more about equality than anything else, and it wasn't about religion. So they took that particular part out somewhat, to some degree, and then they started really going towards what's fair. And in that, they didn't include us at all, because we were a non-factor. We weren't the powers that be. When I read about history, they only record what was important to them. And this is what we see now. This eruption of laws that are skewed towards a certain people, instead of being the playing field for all. But this is the best part. The way laws are crafted and created, it can be for everybody. We can make it that way. That's the best part about America, that you can actually take whatever that is going on and change it into the best thing possible, so we can have a more perfect union. And that's where we get our systems from, where you have a Congress, where you have a Senate, where you have a judicial branch, where you have the president, and all of these systems work. Well, they should work together, but they're not always. But they work to be able to change and craft these laws, to be able to make more fair situations and everything. So when we talk about judicial reform, we talk about these things in a perspective that the laws that are here that are harming us, we want to change those laws so they can actually help every single person. No, we don't want people to be outside of jail for unaliving someone, but we also want it fair enough for people who were in a situation that was unjust and put an innocent person in jail. And when that innocent person goes to jail, they should be able to have a fair shot at their freedom. So we're going to go into what that looks like for minorities. So it says founding period 1776 to 1789. Despite the Declaration of Independence ideals of equality, the Constitution 1787 included compromises protecting slavery, e.g. the 3/5 clause. So I have always said this, well, not always, because I didn't know about it when I was younger, but ever since that I did get this knowledge of what it was, the Constitution, I always said we need a rewrite of it, because a 14th Amendment isn't enough. Yes, you ended slavery, but you still have that perspective in everybody's mind that we are less than human. 3/4 of a person means that your value is down to like a horse or lower. That you aren't human, but you are some property, and that's not okay. If this is stitched into the fabric of America, then we need to change that. And it's not through an amendment, it's through a rewrite. It's through knowing that the things that you wrote about independence, liberty, and freedom, and a just system includes everyone, because we're still here and we have contributed in a way that was so great that it changed and moved mountains, and we want to be included in that and have it a part of our fabric of our country, because we are a part of this fabric of this country. We have fought for a lot of ground movements, and because of that, every single man, woman, and child, whether you're white, black, Asian, whatever, has benefited from it. The LGBTQI community has benefited from it. The children have benefited from it. Women's laws have benefited from it. Anybody who has ever been discriminated against has benefited from these things. And because of that, we know that that contribution should bring us a more just reality, but that is not true. The focus has not been there. And we've seen so many strides that we have fought for over the years that brings us to this moment now that has allowed us to live more free, to have more liberties, but those scales need to be balanced. And we see it every day that those scales aren't balanced. We see it inside of ourselves. We see it in the people that we meet. People have a certain way of looking at African Americans in this country, and that's not okay, because they are human. We are human. We are just as much human as anybody else. We bleed the same. But there has been a viewpoint that has taken us away from that. And not just outside of the community, but in the inner community, where we not only get it from everyone else, but we get it from the inside as well. That self-destructive reality has been embedded in us for quite some time, and we're moving away from that slowly but surely. But we want to see rapid growth sometimes. We want to see these things being focused on because we have contributed in such a big way, and that contribution hasn't been paid back. As a matter of fact, it's been spit on. And as we start to really recognize these things, what do we want to do about them? Well, I have a solution. Restitution. Oh, that's cute. I'm going to use that. I have a solution. Restitution. Well, we are at the end of our time. Oh, no, we're not. Free black communities in northern states face discrimination laws such as voting restrictions, while Native Americans' sovereignty was undermined by federal treaties, often violated by settlers. So it wasn't just us suffering these disparities. It was our indigenous people who were already here. It was the Mexicans who were already here. These are all the people all the land that touches America that we decide to put a border around. We created these borders and not bridges. These people were already here. And when we decide to, take the land for what it was, it doesn't mean that everyone leaves. It means that we have to fight to keep what we've stolen. And that is not okay. We have to do better. And every day that I am here talking to you about these things, we are creating a better future, but we want rapid growth. So I want to thank you for your time, your energy. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment down below and let me know what you thought of this subject. I am truly passionate about this, and we are moving towards this. And not at a rapid pace, not on my end. I've just been doing things to get an audience right now, and there's going to be more things down the pike. So I want you to have a great day, and please, please, please like, share, and subscribe, and let me know what you thought, and I want you to have an amazing day. Oh, I gotta come up and turn it off.